Alrighty, so I want to address the very strange situation going on with Andrew Tate, who I don't think I've ever mentioned his name on this channel. I'm not a follower of his. I've seen exactly one video of Andrew Tate. It was when he got banned from YouTube, and then he made headlines, at least in MySpace, for not the website MySpace. I mean, literally, like the space that I occupy. I heard that he had the biggest live stream in the history of Rumble, and it was his first time ever streaming on Rumble. So I went and checked that out, and I watched, I don't know, like an hour of it. So I got enough of a feel for the guy. I think I understand who he is, but I want to give that caveat because, I'm not one of his super fans. I'm not an enemy of his. So I think I have a somewhat objective and dispassionate attitude towards the guy and his antics. So we heard yesterday that he was arrested for human trafficking by the Romanian authorities. And I will tell you that immediately I was skeptical of this. Now, yes, we did see the perp walk. We saw the footage of him being loaded into an SUV, I guess along with his brother. And we're told that this is because he was essentially a slave master, and he was pimping out women against their will. This is what we are told to believe. And if this was the case, now these allegations have existed for a long time, why was it that he was all of a sudden arrested yesterday? What was the new information that came out? Well, what we're led to believe is that it was because of a Twitter spat that he was having with Greta Thunberg. And yes, that does sound quite strange and implausible. And even knowing the details myself, it doesn't sound any more plausible to me. It still sounds like a very strange story. So this Tate fellow was bragging to Greta Thunberg, kind of baiting her by talking about his cars, how many cars he owns, and how much they, how much CO2 they emit. And then Greta Thunberg, came in with some, catty thing about how he has let's say, small genitalia, and that was, big sick burn. And apparently, I know this sounds very stupid, but this is actually the story that we're told. This is why he got arrested. And after that, in a fit of rage, he posted some video of himself eating pizza out of a box, and the pizza box had the name of a local pizza business. And based on that, the Romanian authorities, who apparently have been pursuing Tate for who knows how long and just didn't know where he was, all of a sudden, because they saw this pizza box, they knew where he was, and they were able to go find him, thanks to his Twitter spat with Greta Thunberg. Now, does any of that make sense to you? This is a guy who is a professional influencer. All he does is post videos of himself on the internet talking, about what he's doing, where he's going. Is it really the case that the Romanian authorities didn't know how to find him until he posted up a picture with a pizza box? But this is the official narrative that we're being given. And if the same people who are telling me that Andrew Tate was arrested because he tweeted out a picture of a pizza box, and that the Romanian authorities were so stupid that they couldn't find him, yet based on the pizza box, they were able to triangulate his location somehow. These are the same people telling me that he has not only been arrested for human trafficking, but was actually involved in human trafficking. I don't know about you, but as someone who has no dog in this fight, it's a little hard to take. It doesn't add up. Lo and behold, though, just as we thought that things are over for the Tate bros, and that they've finally been exposed as the Epsteins of Eastern Europe, now we see Andrew Tate tweeting again from his own account, saying that the Matrix sent their agents. Now, what are we to make of this? Now, it seems that he's been released. Now, there are a lot of tweets from yesterday of big Tate supporters, people who are, obvious Tate stan accounts saying, oh my gosh, Tate's already been released. There's no charges for anything. The media lied about it all. And I wouldn't believe that so much. But now that he's tweeting from his own account, I'm thinking, okay, he's probably out of jail now. Now, is he out on bond? Is there, did they really just bring him in for questioning on something and he's, not been charged with anything yet? I don't know, but I would think that if it really was the story, that they had all this evidence on him, and that the police just couldn't find him until he posted the pizza box. I would think that, well, if they just got him, then they'd hang on to him, right? I didn't hear anything about an arraignment. I would think that if he was arraigned, we would have heard about that. Someone, a reporter who checks the court docket would say, oh, okay, arraignment of Andrew Tate. They would have, reported on it. They would have attended it. They would have said, oh, okay, his bond has been set at, X amount of dollars, and he's out. Just like we heard with SBF. When SBF was arrested and brought to the United States, he was arraigned on, I think, $250 million bail, and then he posted his bail. That was all in the news. We've heard nothing about that with Andrew Tate, although it appears that somehow he's not out. That, to me, makes it seem like, he really was brought in for questioning regarding some kind of criminal activity, and then, released after he was questioned. Now, that doesn't mean that he's not going to be charged with something, but it certainly doesn't seem to be the case that they had all this evidence on him that he's a human trafficker, that he is some kind of, slave auctioneer, and, arrested him now that they finally found him. Doesn't seem like that's the case to me. Now, there's another reason why this story has seemed fishy to me since the first time I heard it. This Tate fellow has a business model that appears to be something, he seems like a very, very successful version of Jack Murphy. And I talked about Jack Murphy and his implosion at the end of 2021. We're just over a year from that now. In fact, I think on BitChute, that's still my most highly viewed video, was breaking down Jack Murphy's his implosion. It was tremendous. And in fact, back then, the Jack Murphy stans got my video pulled down from Twitter and from YouTube and got me a strike. Although that was later removed, and the video is, I think, back up on YouTube. But it was doing pretty good numbers on YouTube. I mean, better than BitChute, and the Jack Murphy folks did not like it. I guess I cut a little too deep. But anyway, Jack Murphy's whole thing was that he had this subscription-based service where you could join his club for some amount of money every month, or you could pay up front like $35,000 or something for a lifetime membership. And you would get access to some kind of members forum, and there would be club meetings of some kind, and it was, a bunch of guys jerking each other off, or, I'm sorry, it was a bunch of guys who were supposed to just, it was a social organization, and maybe people of different skills, and they could network and stuff like that. The idea of a men's club isn't such a bad idea. That was what the Proud Boys was started as. What was it called in the Flintstones that the Proud Boys was based off? The Fraternal Order of the Water Buffalo. I always loved that. So this isn't, it's not like this is a terrible, shady deal in and of itself, but in the case of Jack Murphy, his whole thing was, hey, join my club, and I'll teach you how to be a real man. It's like, do I really want to learn how to be a man from, Jack Murphy? He doesn't seem like, he seemed, on the surface, he seemed like a, fine, normal person. Later on, we found out he's not a fine, normal person, but, why should I pay money to this guy to teach me how to be a real man? What is that? How am I going to learn anything from this guy? He seemed normal at best. Now it turns out that he was not normal, and in a very bad way. Turned out he was a chatterbait streamer. Very gross. But anyway, that was that, and this is this. So Tate's business model, from what I understand, similar thing, but a little more believable. Unlike Jack Murphy, Tate is a super rich guy, at least it would appear. He looks very successful. He, by his own account, owns 33 cars, including a McLaren, which he posted a picture of himself fueling up to troll and try and bait Greta in interacting with him. So it seems like the guy has some modicum of success in life. He wears expensive watches and expensive suits. That's something that I remember from that one stream I watched. They were talking about how, that's important, and that, it helps them, feel like good and successful. And a lot of people look at that and they say, hey, I want to be like him. And I can understand that. I understand that more than people saying, I want to be like Jack Murphy. Never quite understood that one. So he charges people money, and they can be a part of some club, and then they get, I guess, exclusive motivational speeches or something, or hot tips on how to, you know, be successful. And I'll be honest, I would not pay Andrew Tate money to teach me how to be like him either. Because, while I would like to have a net worth of purportedly $350 million, I like that part about him. Personality-wise, I mean, he's some charm to him, but he, kind of seems like someone that I wouldn't get along with that well in person. Kind of seems like a little bit of a jerk. But that's just me, The point in all this is not to determine whether or not I think that Andrew Tate's services that he provides are a good value, or whether there's something that I would be interested in. Objectively, he has, I don't think we know exactly. I think that maybe he claims around 100,000, but he has a lot of subscribers. There's a lot of people who pay for this, who pay to be a part of whatever his thing is. I don't know what it's called. Jack Murphy's was called the Liminal Order, more commonly known as the Seminal Order. But anyway, Tate's making a lot of money. He's making like millions of dollars every month in membership fees, from what I understand, off of this thing that he's built, off of his influence. So he's monetized, being an influencer better than, almost anybody. I mean, you got, I guess Kim Kardashian's better than him as far as that money thing is concerned, monetizing just being a person with a Twitter account. But you know what? She got a big head start on him. I mean, she was like the first one to monetize her Twitter account. Tate, however, certainly if he kept things up, he'd be on his way. If everything that we hear about him is true, he'd be on his way to being a billionaire in a few years. Especially if he took, vast majority of that income that he's got, that cash flow, and invested it. So, I mean, this is a guy who's got, he's got it made. I mean, there's no question about it. So why would he turn to pimping? Is he just that stupid? Is he just like, I want to go kidnap some girls in the countryside and sell them off to rich guys? It's like, is the risk versus reward there compared to what he's doing out in the open, but compared to his public business? Is it really worth it? It's not like Jeffrey Epstein, who actually had no real career. It would seem to me that Andrew Tate, at the very least, is one of the more popular online personalities in the world. He's got a lot of people who follow him. If you got that, you can make a lot of money, and you can do quite well in this world. I don't know why you'd risk that and throw that all away to get into human trafficking. Maybe there's more money in it than I think. Maybe there's a way to do that, and, he thought that he could have it both ways. But, I mean, if you are involved in, the deepest, darkest, trades of the world, if you're literally a slave trader, I don't know how you have a public persona and think that you're going to get away with that. And I don't think that this Tate guy, say what you will about him, he doesn't seem to be an idiot to me. I don't think that you can amass, even if he's overestimating his wealth, Donald Trump style. Let's say he's not worth $350 million. Let's say he's worth half that. I don't think that you accumulate, $175 million or $100 billion by being an idiot. You got to be pretty damn smart. You got to know where to get money from, and I don't see him being able. Let's say, well, he got all that money from being a slave trader. It's like, okay, well, how did he launder it? And that's actually one of the things here. I've seen unconfirmed, like Tate supporters saying, he's not being investigated for human trafficking, he's being investigated for money laundering. It's like, okay, well, maybe if he was involved in human trafficking and he had to launder his profits, maybe there's something to that then, if he's actually under investigation for money laundering. But, I mean, you launder any kind of money that you're trying to keep off the books and not pay taxes on, or I shouldn't say that, because once you launder it, I think you pay taxes on it. But if it's from something illegal, it doesn't necessarily have to be sexual slavery. I mean, that's the worst thing that I think in the world that you could accuse someone of. So I want to be somewhat conservative and not just like assume, oh yeah, he's a sex slave trader. I mean, that's insane. I mean, those two people do exist, but I'd have to see some serious evidence of that. Especially when we see how none of Epstein's co-conspirators, other than Maxwell, have even been mentioned, let alone prosecuted. That's really something that the Tate fans have going in their favor when they're trying to argue this online. It's hard to argue that. I'm not going to come out here and say, oh, this Tate guy, he did nothing wrong. The system's just trying to take him down. I don't know that because I don't know him. But when you look at everybody who gets away with things and you see, oh, well, he's getting prosecuted for something, if people who we know engaged in human trafficking get charged with nothing, why should we assume that he engaged in human trafficking, even if he is charged with it? Because you see, breaking the law and being prosecuted under that law, there's not a direct correlation there, clearly. So I think that about sums up my thoughts on the whole matter of Andrew and Tristan Tate. I hope, for the sake of humanity and these two individuals and any potential victims, that none of this is true, because human trafficking is like really, really scary and dark. It's like the kind of thing that I just wish I could pretend doesn't exist, but is, sadly it does exist. Always has and probably always will. But if this stuff is true, I mean, it would be really remarkable that these two were able to build up this whole social media empire without this just being totally obvious. Because remember, this is not, what's his name? I Believe I Can Fly. R. Kelly. They're not being accused of R. Kelly stuff. R. Kelly's accused of some bad stuff. Seems like he did some bad stuff. Seems like he took, young fans of his, 14, 15, 16-year-old fans, or I don't know, maybe younger. I never followed the R. Kelly stuff. And he first, kind of let him stay at his house and did what he wanted, and then he just didn't let him leave. And that's really bad. That's really dark. It's really scary and evil. But he wasn't accused of being a slave trader. I mean, hell, look at the Ezra Miller stuff. I don't think Ezra Miller has had any criminal problems. I mean, don't they still have a Flash movie coming out? And he supposedly, according to the parents, kidnapped this minor girl and was on the run with her. I don't know how that all concluded because I don't really follow celebrity stuff. But last I checked, the Flash movie's still coming out. So they fired Henry Cavill for much less than what Ezra Miller's accused of. So I look at all this, and it's just, it doesn't add up. So before I continue to ramble, I'll just say I will see you folks back here tomorrow.